Berachos, Gimel Dalet. A Baal Carry reads mentally and does not recite the blessings before or after it. On food, he recites the after blessings but not recite before. And Rabbi Yehuda says he blesses before and after them. Someone was standing engaged in tefillah and remembered that he was a Baal Carry. He does not, on that account, stop altogether. Instead, he shortens. If he descended to immerse himself and is able to come up and cover himself and to read before the sun rises, he shall come up, dress, and read. And if not, he shall cover himself with the water and read. But he may not cover himself in evil-smelling water or in water of soaking until he pours in water. How far away should he remove himself from it and from an excrement? 4 amos. A Zavu became a Bakari and a menstruant who discharged semen, and a woman who engaged in relations and noticed herself menstruating requires immersion. The Yehuda exempts. Okay.
All right. Tefilas hashachar ad chatzos. Okay, so let's just take a step back here and talk about the obligation to um, about the obligation for davening. So, min haTorah, there is no there's no shiur for davening.
Mhm.
Just when you daven to Hashem, you say whatever you want, and the original primary service was in the Mishkan and then in the Beis Hamikdash. Uh,
Right.
and and all the tefillahs were like, any tefillah that happened was good. You were supposed to daven to Hashem, but there was no fixed pattern of how to do it. With the first galus into Babel, with no Beis Hamikdash, and people were kind of at a loss for what to do. So it was they instituted the tefillahs in order to correspond to the avoda that would have happened in the Beis Hamikdash. So the Shachris tefillah was corresponding to the Tamid of the morning. The Mincha tefillah was corresponding to the Tamid of the afternoon. And we'll see in this first Mishnah that the timing of each tefillah is based on the timing of the Tamid, and when you're supposed to bring the Tamid in the Mikdash. Mariv is not against any particular korban, but what does happen in the Beis Hamikdash at night is the leftover chalavim and things that are meant to be burned on the Ola altar. Are burned throughout the night. So Mariv has got a shear that goes all the way through the night. Okay, and when we have Musaf on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Chagim, sorry, silverfish just fell off the ceiling onto my keyboard. Okay. Anyway, so when we got Musafim, so the Musaf, the Korban Musaf is substituted by the Tfilas Musaf. Okay. So now the timing, as you'll see over here, is based on those korbanos. Tfilas hashachar ad chatzos. So morning tefillah is until midday, according to the Tanna Kama. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad arba shavos. He says no, up to 4 hours, because that was the time during which the korban tamid was brought in the morning. I mean, they would not remember they couldn't check the korban tamid until the sun came up.
Right.
Okay, and that was so that was how that's how things out. So you'd have to be from sunrise to the fourth hour according to Rabbi Yehuda, and that is the normative halacha. Tfilas mincha ad ha'erev. Okay, mincha. Now, an interesting little side point. Kati talks about why is it called the mincha in the afternoon? Because the tamid was an animal offering just like the morning. Okay, except that the timing that was given was actually given for it had a mincha offering that came with it, and apparently the timing it was called after the zman that was given for bringing of the flower offering. So that's just let me just see where exactly he said that. I don't want to get the exact words of how it's said. Tfilas mincha. Yeah. כפי שהיה התמיד קרב בכל יום בתשע ושעס ומחצה, Tiknus Manamitesh Shas Mechza Hinikra Mincha Katana. Oh wait, that's not talking about the name. So I prepared it in the English version. It's maybe it's somewhere earlier about why it's called Mincha. Anyway, it's um sorry, there's a lot of commentary and I can't find his exact words very quickly about why it's called the mincha. But as far as I recall, it was because the time that was given was based on when the flower offering was going to come through, had to be brought. Um, where is it? I just want to take another look if I can find it. I'm sorry, I'm not going to find it in time. But so let's leave this for now. Anyway, that's not the important thing. It was just an interesting side point why we call it mincha rather than afternoon prayer or something like that. Okay, so the tefillas mincha ad ha'erev until evening. In other words, until sunset. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad plag mincha. Okay, and until halfway through the mincha. Now, in terms of the timings, the normal timing for the afternoon is the day is divided obviously into halachic hours, which are from sunrise to sunset divided by 12. Okay, so Plaga Mincha is halfway through the time of Mincha. So since the time of Mincha starts from 9.5 hours of the day, so that was the time that they would 9.5 hours was when they would typically bring the afternoon tamid. Is from 9.5 hours of the day on a regular weekday, that is. Okay, so that 9.5 hours, that's where you should start your afternoon tefillah from, and that's called mincha katana. Why? Because the day. Why is it called katana? Because the day is getting shorter, right? You're getting towards the end of the day, so it's called mincha katana. So Rabbi Yehuda says you should finish it until halfway through that plaga mincha. So from 9.5 until 12, you get to 11 and a no, so 10 and 3/4. Yeah, 10 and 3/4. So you have 1.25 hours before Shkia is called Plaga Mincha. Okay, so that is Rabbi Yehuda's limit of the time for Mincha, but here we don't accept his opinion. And as a matter of fact, he was holding that you only have that the mincha should begin. Oh, sorry, is that? Yeah, what's not mentioned explicitly here in the Mishnah is what's the starting time of mincha, and there's one opinion that says it starts from mincha katana, which is that 9.5 hours, because that's when the afternoon tamid was brought. But there were times when the afternoon tamid was brought earlier, such as on Erev Pesach. On Erev Pesach, they had to push everything forward because everyone was coming and bringing their korban Pesach in the afternoon. So the earliest that they would ever bring the korban mincha forward was like basically to 6.5 hours. So it wasn't exactly 6, because 6 is like still the sun is directly overhead, or as overhead as it gets in Israel, and basically half an hour later you can already see it starting to move into the west. So now that's called mincha gedola, and that's the time that we accept for tefillah is half an hour after midday. Okay. So tefillah sa'erev ein la keva. Now evening prayer, there's no fixed time for. Originally, the evening prayer was considered an optional thing because there was no korban directly corresponding to it. So it was a chiyuv to daven shachris and mincha, but Mariv was an optional thing. However, minhag Yisrael, it's more of a minhag Yisrael that everyone davens Mariv, and so when we say that it's not fixed, well, it actually is fixed. We do have to do it, and as a matter of fact, following the dictum of Berachos Aleph Aleph, you've got to do it by midnight. because we don't want to let it slip by. Make sure you do it by midnight, and but even if you let it slip past midnight, you'll follow the Rabban Gamliel saying, okay, you missed midnight, do it anyway. Although there are some poskim who say, no, don't. You've missed it. It's too late.
Right.
So anyway, V'shel Musafin Kol Hayom, and the Musaf, the Korban Musaf is all day long. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Ad Sheva Shaos. But Rabbi Yehuda says only until 7 hours of the day. Why until 7 hours a day? Because that's an hour after midday. However, there are some Svarim that don't have this statement of Rabbi Yehuda, so it seems to be that the statement of Rabbi Yehuda is a bit questionable, and it's certainly not the halacha. Okay.
Okay.
Base. Rabbi Nechonia ben Akana
And during this time, was this the time that they didn't have set the feel? In other words, they didn't have people didn't know what to say, so they needed someone up there, a cousin, to
Right.
so
So that was also when they started to be mitaken the Shmona Esrei, all the 18 tefillah,
right,
so that people who didn't know what to say would be able to pray with as much fluency as experts.
right.
Okay. So what to pray? Rabbi Nachman ben Hanani hamispalel b'knisa sola beis hamidrash b'tziasot tefillah katzar. He had this personal thing that he used to do when he came into the Beis Midrash and when he left. Amrlo, ma makom letfilah zeh. So he says, what's this tefillah that you're davening every time you come in and go out? Amr lehem b'knisa si ani mispalel. So the commentary over here specifies what it says in the Gemara or in the Brisa. Yeah, so what did he say? That there should be no mistake. And people will laugh at me for making a mistake. And I shouldn't say that something that's tame is tahor, not that something is tahor is tame, and not that anyone should make a mistake in halacha because of me. Not that any of my colleagues should make a mistake, and that I should privately take some schadenfreude in the fact that they slipped up and I didn't. Okay, and what did he pray when he left? I thank you, Hashem, that you gave me my chelik from the Yoshvei Beis Midrash and not the Yoshvei Kranos. The same thing that we say in the Siyum. Right? We say a lot of this tefillah in the Siyum that you gave me my chelik in Torah and not with the Yoshvei Kranos. Hey mashkivim, anachnu mashkivim, hey mashkivim, anu mashkivim, and you know the whole thing.
Right.
A lot of that is taken from the tefillah of Rabbi Nechonia ben Akana. So back to the Mishnah, he says, I pray that there should be no mistake that happens because of me. And when I leave, I give thanks to Hashem for my chelek in Torah. Rabban Gamliel Omer b'chol yom yispalel adam shmona esrei. Okay, so now we get on to shmona esrei over here. There are 18 brachas that a person should say, and we're not mentioning over here the 19th bracha, which is the Birkas Aminim. That was a later institution. That was particularly instituted against the early Christians who were trying to take Jews off the derech, and they wanted to. So they added that in so that if somebody got up to the Amud and was doing saying the Shemona Esrei and they were kind of mumbling over the Malshinim Alaminim, then they would know that this person was suspicious. Okay, that he's praying. He doesn't want to pray for his own downfall. Anyway, they said, but the name Shmona Esrei stuck. Okay, and Rabban Gamliel says that every tefillah, you should be saying the full 18 brachas. Rabbi Yeshua me'ein Shmona Esrei. He says no. There's a shortened version also that you could say, which is called Havinenu. Havinenu is a short bracha that includes basically one phrase that alludes to every one of the middle brachas. You've got the 3 introductory brachas and the 3 end brachas. Everyone agrees that you've got to say the 3 introductory and the 3 end brachas every time. So right. even on Shabbos, when we dispense with those middle brachas and just have the Mekadesh Shabbos, we still have the 3 beginning and 3 end brachas because those are sacrosanct. And Rabbi Yeshua is saying that even in the weekdays you can have this Havinenu, which is an extract of all of these things. Incidentally, it's a bit of an issue to say it during winter because in winter you also have to have Geshem, and Havinenu doesn't have any mention of Tzein Talam Matzar. Um, but that's for a different discussion because hardly anyone ever says Havinenu. Um, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Im Shigur Tfilaso B'Fiv Yispalel Shmona Esrei V'Im Lav Me'en Shmona Esrei. So Rabbi Akiva brings a compromise position. He says if he knows the prayer or if he's got it written down, then he should for sure say the 18. But if he's stuck or if he's in a hurry or if he doesn't know it so well, then let him say Havinenu. Nonetheless, today, when you've got Sidurim everywhere, like it's very difficult to have an excuse to say Havinenu unless you're ill or unable to maintain your concentration for whatever reason, or then you would say Havinenu.
I think we learned in with Dan that if people are working their working situation and have to go back to work right away or something like that happens. That's
Right. So it's a very exceptional case when you have to say Havinenu. It's and very rare that you would need to do it. Okay.
okay.
Then.
Let's get and we have Gimel Ches. For when do we fish contact? When do fish contact tuma? Oakland, Beis Shammai says from when they are in court, and Beis Hillel says from when they die. But Kiva says if they are able to live. Regarding a branch of a fig tree that was torn off, but is still attached by its peel, Rabbi Yehuda rules a tahor, but they can compensate it only if it can live. Grain that was uprooted but attached by even a small root is tahor. Caleb of kosher animal is not tamei with tuma of nevela, therefore it requires hechsherim. A hechsher. Caleb of a non-kosher species animal is tamei with the tuma of nevela, therefore it does not require hechsher. And non-kosher fish and non-kosher grasshoppers require thought in villages. Regarding a beehive, Reb Eliezer says is like land, and we may write a prose bill based on it. And it is not susceptible to tuma in its place, and the one who detaches honey from it on the Sabbath is liable to a sin offering. But the comments say it is not like land, and we may not write a prose bill based on it, and it is susceptible to tuma, and its place, and one who removes honey from it can on Sabbath is not liable to a sin offering.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So when we finish Oktin and return to the beginning of Berachos.
I'm sorry. We're gonna finish. Let's get into two
Berachos.
prophets. Okay.
Okay. Zavim.
So, go. Rabbi Yehuda says if a need is set together with a tahor woman on a bread, the cap on her head contracts tumas midras tuma. If the needle was sat in a boat, utensils that are on top of the mast of the boat contact midras tuma. If the needle carries a tub full of clothing, if it is heavy, the articles of clothing are rendered tame. If it's light, they remain tahor. If a zav struck a blow on a balcony and caused a leaf of truma bread to fall, the loaf remains tahor. If the zav struck a bowl on a crossbeam of a frame or a gutter board or on a plank, even though it is merely tied down with ropes or on an oven, and the receptacle of the flour mill on the base of the millstone on the base of a hand-powered mill sat on the measure of an olive grinder, Rabbi Yossi additionally says the zav who strikes on the beam of the bathhouse attendant. In all of these cases, the loaf that falls remains tahor. If the zav struck a blow on the door, on a doorknob, or on a lock, or on a mill receptacle, or on a weak tree, or on a weak branch that grows from a strong tree, or an Egyptian ladder that's not anchored with a nail, on a ramp or a beam or a door that was not secured with plaster, in all these cases, that loaves that fall are tamei. If the zav struck a blow on a carriage in the chest or a closet, the leaves that fall are tamei, and however, in the Chama and Reb Shimon rule these top. Okay.
Foros. Hey base.
If one said, I touched this object, but I do not know whether it's Tameh or Tahor, or I touched one of the objects, but I do know which one of the two I touch, if Akiva rules them Tameh, but the sages say the Tahor. Yossi rules them Tameh in all these cases, but rules them Tahor in the case of a path, for it is the very way of people who walk, but is not the way they touch. Regarding two paths, one Tameh and one Tahor, if one walked on one of them and then prepared Tahoros, and they were eaten, it was sprinkled once and again and immersed and purified himself, and then walked on the second path and then prepared taharos. They are tahor. And the first taharos are still extant. Those are the suspended. If he did not purify himself to the interim, the first are suspended and the second should be burned. Regarding a sheretz and a frog in the public domain, if someone touched one of them and prepared taharos, so they were eaten, and the immersed touched the second object and prepared taharos, these are taharos of tahor. If the first taharos are exempt, then these and those are suspended. If he did not immerse in the interim, the first taharos are suspended, and the second taharos should be burned. Okay.
Okay.
And we are on to Talmud. The appointed one said to them, "Go out and see if the time for loitering has arrived. If the time has arrived, the observer says, down, dawn." Amasa ben Shmuel says the entire eastern sky has lit up as far as Hebron, and the observer says, yes. The appointed one said to them, "Go out and bring a lamp from the chamber of lamps." Now the chamber of lamps was the northwest corner of the hall of fire, and the four chambers were located there. One with the chamber of lamps, one with the chamber of receipts, one with the chamber of the hall of fire, and one with the chamber in which they made the showbread. They entered the chamber of vessels and took out from them 93 silver and gold vessels. They gave the Talmud lamb to drink with a cup of gold. Even though the animal had been examined before evening, they examined it by the light of the torches. Okay. And let's see. If one deposits money with an other and he tied it up and slung it over behind it, or gave it over to his minor son or daughter and locked the door before them inadequately, he's liable, since he did not watch as a showman do. But if he watched as a showman do, he's exempt. If one deposits money with a money changer and it's tied up, he may not use it. Therefore, if it is lost, he is not responsible for it. If it is untied, he may use it. Therefore, if it is lost, he is responsible for it. For the householder, however, whether it is tied or untied, he may not use it. Therefore, if it is lost, he is not responsible for it. A storekeeper is like a householder. These are the words of a mayor, and Rabbi Yehuda says the storekeeper is like a money changer. If one uses the deposit for his own purposes, Ben Shammai says he must suffer whether it loses its value or it gains. Rabbi Hillel says at the time of it being taken out. Rabbi Kiva says at the time of it being the claim. If one intends to take a deposit for his own use, Beit Shammai says he is liable, and Beit Hillel says he is not liable until he uses it for his own purposes. As it is said, if he has not put forth his hand on the other's goods. How? If he tilted the cask and took a quarter of a log from it, and it broke, he pays only the fee for the quarter of a log. If he lifted it and took a quarter of a log from it, and he broke, he must pay its entire value.
Okay.
And, you know, it's okay. Hey. The Pesach offering was slaughtered in three groups, where it is written, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slaughter it. The verse mentions assembly, congregation, Israel. The first group entered, and when the temple courtyard was filled, they closed the gates of the temple courtyard and sounded the tekiah, teruah, and again a tekiah. The Kohanim stood rows upon rows, and in their hands were silver bowls and golden bowls. One row was altogether of silver, the other was altogether of gold, and they were not mixed up together. Nor did the bowls have their bases, lest they set them down and the blood congeal. And Yisrael slaughtered it, the Kohen received it, and he would hand it to his fellow, and he to his fellow. He would accept the full one and return the empty one, but the Kohen nearest the altar would throw it with one toss opposite the base. When the first group left, the second group entered. When the second left, the third entered. Like the procedure of the first, so was the procedure of the second and the third. They recited the Hallel. If they finished it, they repeated it. And if the repetition was completed, they recited a third time, or they never did they recite it a third time. And Yehuda says the third group never reached as far as I love, for Hashem hears, because his people were few.
Okay. And
Okay.
we're done.
Okay, great. You had a run. Okay.
I'm gonna run.
Great day. Thank
Good
you.
day. Bye.